Hey, friends! Just so you know, we enjoy the swear word and we rely on good old fashioned humor to get through some seriously dark subject matter. At no time do we intend any disrespect toward the victims or families of the victims in the cases we cover. Also, be sure to listen to the end for a few palate cleansing bloopers to reset your mindset. And with that, we thank you for listening and we hope you enjoy.
Hey friends, welcome to Crime Will Tell. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Carrie.
How are you tonight, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's a nice day at the end of October. I will freaking take it. Still just hoodie weather. I'm enjoying the shit out of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. And the fall air and the crisp leaves.
hmm So, this case is sad. I mean, they all
You're
are.
like, there's no good way to segue.
Yeah, and it's frustrating as shit, and it's gonna piss you off, and
Oh, okay.
really, that's the best way for me to summarize it. So, what are you drinking, Gary?
So now I'm regretting my decisions. Now I thought I made a great decision because I'm not feeling well. I'm kind of under the weather. And so I'm like,
Hmm.
water. Hydration. I'm gonna drink water tonight. But it sounds like I'm gonna get pissed. So I might have to go get a drink.
If you need to take a bourbon break in the middle of it and go get something, that's fine. If not, you hydrate and get to feeling better.
Yeah,
That's what's
I'll do
important.
that. Cool. What are you drinking though?
I am drinking some cinnamon bourbon and apple cider.
Oh, like, is it a cinnamon bourbon apple cider bourbon?
What?
What did I
No,
just say?
I don't fucking
Did
know.
you say cinnamon bourbon and apple cider?
Yeah, just like it's cinnamon bourbon, and then I added apple cider for a mixed drink.
I wasn't
Yes.
sure if it was a mixed drink or if it was cinnamon bourbon apple cider bourbon. Is it good?
Yeah.
All right.
So, cheers, my friend.
Clink.
Clink. Mm-mm-mm. So, this case is about a 22-year-old college student named Laura Dickinson. And she was the only daughter of Robert and Deborah Dickinson. She had two brothers, Kevin and Joshua. I'm not sure where she fell in the order. I couldn't find a ton of information about their family, but she had these two brothers, and their family was incredibly close. They lived in Hastings, Michigan, and their family owned a coffee shop that was called State Grounds Coffee House.
Oh, I like that.
So Laura was vegetarian. She loved photography and music and drama, and she was an active volunteer with the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And she had hopes of becoming a dietitian, and she wanted to join the Peace Corps.
Oh,
And
bless her heart.
specifically, yeah, right? Specifically, she wanted to work with children in Africa who were affected by AIDS. So she was gonna do, like, some really cool shit,
Yeah. She was
like,
going to
what
change the world.
22-year-old is like, "I'm gonna join the Peace Corps?" Like, it's
Not
few
very
and far
many.
between. Usually, you don't know what the fuck your future is gonna hold, and for
Mm-mm.
her to be that just kind and wanting to make a positive change, I think speaks volumes. So after she earned an associate's degree at Grand Rapids Community College in 2005, Laura decided that she wanted to further her education, and she was working on getting a degree in nutrition and was a junior at Eastern Michigan University, or EMU, which is funny because it's just emu on everything. It's
Slay. Isn't that an
like
emu?
yeah, a capitalized emu. But so the school has around 23,000 students. I mean, it's a good
That's a
size
big site.
college,
Yeah.
and it's in Ypsilanti, Michigan. The town is kind of known as Ipsy by students and locals, and it sits about 40 miles west of Detroit. So the school was only about 2 hours from where Laura grew up and where her family lived in Hastings. So she was like far enough away to really kind of build some independence and do her own thing, but close enough that she could easily get home and spend time with her family if she needed to, or just make easy trips back and forth. Laura loved college life, and she lived in a single dorm room in Hill Hall on the university's campus. So she didn't have a roommate, which is how I would have to do it.
Unusual.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would be like, I can't have someone sleeping 3 feet away from me, unless we're married. She was on the crew team and she was involved in a lot of activities on the campus and in her dorm building as well. She had a longtime boyfriend named Travis Scott, and he worked as an engineer in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So they had a long distance thing going on, but seemed to be managing really well with that. On December 12th of 2006, which was a Tuesday, Laura went to a secret Santa party for the crew team around 7 o'clock that night, where she ended up staying for about 4 hours. So she was just hanging out with everybody on the crew team. And things were pretty quiet on campus at this time. It was finals week. So a
Mm,
lot of students were busy studying for upcoming exams, and a lot had actually already left campus to go home for the winter break.
okay.
So things were really kind of starting to wind down for the semester. Surveillance footage showed Laura entering Hill Hall on the campus at 11:12 that night, and she was carrying a red and green colored gift bag that she had won at the holiday party. She went back to her dorm room, and at 11:30 she called her boyfriend Travis. They chatted for a few minutes before she was like, "Look, I'm tired. I've got some big exams tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and head to bed." So this was just like a pretty typical night for Laura. Hang out with friends or go to an event and then head back to her dorm room, study, talk to Travis, whatever. So there really wasn't anything out of the ordinary that night. But over the next couple of days, Laura did not show up for any of her final exams,
Oh
and none
no.
of her friends or family were able to reach her on her cell phone. This was really unusual for her, but I'm sure initially they kind of chalked it up to her being busy studying, and focusing on her exams. But her friends, her boyfriend Travis, and her parents, Robert and Deborah, all grew increasingly concerned, and especially as they learned that no one in her close circle of people had heard from her. So as they're like
Yeah.
checking in with each other and it was like, I haven't heard from her either, the panic just kind of started to
Oh
set in
boy.
more and more. Laura, she really stayed in close contact with her family, and she typically answered her phone when someone called or was at least really quick to return a call if she missed one from somebody. The phone call that she'd had with her boyfriend Travis after that holiday party was the last time that anyone had heard from her. On December 15th, so this would have been 3 days after Laura was last seen or heard from, some students at EMU had made complaints to the university sanitation department about a foul smell coming
Oh
from one
boy.
of the dorm rooms. This was room 518 in Hill Hall, which was Laura's room. So early that afternoon, Michelle Lockwood, who was one of the school's custodians, entered the locked room where she made the horrific discovery of Laura's lifeless body.
It took them 3 days to check her dorm room when nobody was getting in touch with her.
Yeah, I think that they just, I don't know. Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing too. I would have been
Did
like
you?
a
I
day. I would have been like,
yeah.
no,
I would have been driving out. I just imagine like I couldn't get a hold of one of my you know what I'm saying? Or, I only have one in
yeah,
college right now, but if I couldn't get a hold of him, I guess I can understand how you could get to day 3 because you so badly want to believe nothing bad's going on.
right.
And if you take action, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you're like admitting that maybe something.
I think that maybe her dad called the school, but I don't know what the outcome of that was. But,
Okay. Hmm.
and I mean, I know that it was like a hectic time with exams and stuff that I think they were probably like, okay, I don't want to bug her because I know she's
That's
busy.
true. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can get there. I can get there on how it took 3 days.
But it's still also like, if I went 3 days and couldn't get a hold of my mother or my wife or whatever, I would be like, what the fuck? Freaking out.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. So she made it back to her dorm room, but
Yeah, her boyfriend Travis knew that because he talked to her that night, after the party, and
and she didn't have a roommate. So, okay.
yeah, so
Interesting.
she was just gonna go to bed as far as anybody knew, and then crickets, like, they didn't hear from her. So when she was discovered, she was lying on a blue blanket that was on the floor next to her bed,
Okay.
which already is kind of a weird thing. She was naked from the waist down and was only wearing a white tank top. A used tampon was lying near her body, just kind of on the ground. I don't know if it was on the ground or on the blanket next to her, but had been taken out and was laying next to her. And a pillow was covering a portion of her face. The university employee immediately was like, "Holy shit." She called campus police, who immediately began an investigation. And based on the way that she was found, her room, was treated as a crime scene, and the campus police contacted the sheriff and Michigan State Police crime lab for support. They were like, "This is, we can handle like car break-ins, but this is kind of out of
Right.
our wheelhouse." So they did the right thing. They brought in additional support. So the state police crime lab came in, they collected biological fluids and fingerprints, as well as the bedding and the pillows from Laura's room. They tape lifted fibers that were found on Laura's body and her clothing. Like, they collected all kinds of evidence from her body and her room. It seemed pretty obvious that she did not die from natural causes. There were no signs that, she died of alcohol poisoning or a drug overdose or something like that. And that night, the county's medical examiner listed Laura's death as suspicious.
Mm.
However, the following day, Eastern Michigan University issued a press release regarding her death. And in the release, they noted that she died unexpectedly, but that, quote, "there is no reason to suspect foul play," and that they were, quote, "fully confident in the safety and security of our campus environment."
I can see that this car is just driving right off a cliff. Like,
What now? What about that?
who's
Just, yeah, was no foul play. So it was later reported that the school simply just they didn't know police were investigating Laura's death
what?
as a homicide, but no one from the university ever called the investigators to get any details about what happened to her before issuing that statement.
That's smarmy. That's
Yeah.
smarmy.
And I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but at no point in my life have I taken off most of my clothes, removed my tampon, and tossed it on the floor of my room, and then thought, I could sleep in my bed with comfy covers, or I could go night night on top of this blanket on the floor with this pillow over my face. I mean, obviously, it's fucking possible, but foul play seemed really,
It
really
seems more likely.
likely
Yeah.
in this situation. So it was later revealed that the director and the assistant director of the university's public safety department were on the scene in Laura's dorm room after her body was discovered.
So they knew.
Yeah, for the school to be playing dumb about their knowledge of the death was really, really sketchy.
I don't
And
like that.
you would think that there would have been more concern about the remaining student safety. And I understand that, they wanted to avoid people panicking and not create any added chaos, but they could have at least issued some sort of warning to the students to be extra vigilant, lock their dorm rooms, don't walk alone, things like that. Just really common, basic shit you think would have
Yeah.
been at the forefront. But anyway, um, on December 26th, so this would have been 11 days after Laura's body was found, police identified a suspect in her murder. And this was fellow EMU, EMU student Orange Taylor III. Yep, his name is Orange. And After police obtained and reviewed surveillance footage from Hill Hall, where Laura lived, Taylor could be seen entering into Hill Hall around 4:23 the morning of December 13th. And in the footage, he's wearing a black hoodie and he has the hood pulled up. And then he could be seen walking down a stairwell in the building around 5:56 that morning, and he was holding what appeared to be some sort of bag underneath his sweatshirt. So they were like, "Okay, this motherfucker up to no good." So now that they've named a suspect in a murder, it should have been super clear to the university that one of their students was murdered on their campus, possibly by another student, yet they still did not issue any additional statements regarding the safety of students.
I really do not like this.
So he, at this point, was named as a suspect but has not been arrested. So they're letting the rest of the students have classes and be around potentially a murder suspect and
That
just
blows my
no
mind.
acknowledgement. Yeah. And I couldn't really find a ton of information about the suspect, Orange Taylor, other than that he was 20 years old, had a really dumb name, and was from Southfield, Michigan, which is just northwest of Detroit. So he grew up not super far from where the school is. After investigators discovered the video of Mr. Citrus, they executed a a search warrant of his parents' home where they collected a black hooded sweatshirt which was promptly sent to the state's crime lab to be tested.
Hell yeah.
Like, this looks like the one that was in the video. In early January of 2007, so the month after Laura was killed, one of the vice presidents at the university received a report from their campus security that provided details of the murder. This report clearly detailed that Laura was murdered and squashed any ideas that she died due to any sort of natural causes or an accident of some kind. This report confirmed that the top officials at the school had the full details of her death. They were no longer able to play dumb and say that they didn't know what happened to her. So instead of taking this report to their attorneys and, figuring out the best way to release the information and protect their students, they shredded this report and did nothing. You would think that on behalf of their students, the staff, donors and alumni, and parents that were paying tuition and concerned about their children, that the university would want to address the issue and let people know how they were correcting it to ensure the safety of everyone else, but they didn't. They just continued to just try and be like, natural causes. There was no murder here.
So then they were just actively trying to cover it up. They were
Yeah.
actively telling lies to the public, to the students, and to the students' parents.
Yes.
That is bananas.
And we'll get to it, but even to Laura's family.
Really?
Yeah. An autopsy of Laura's body revealed that her cause of death was asphyxiation caused by either strangulation or smothering.
Mm.
They were unable to find definitive proof that she had been sexually assaulted. Both asphyxiation and sexual assault can be really difficult to prove, like on its own, but especially once decomposition has set in, like it makes determining that stuff almost impossible.
I didn't know that.
Unfortunately, yeah, because the body starts to break down and you don't have,
It can't compromises whatever evidence is there.
yeah.
I see.
Unfortunately, since Laura wasn't found for a few days, her body had started to decompose, which complicated the collection of evidence and the determination of her cause of death. So Orange Taylor III was arrested on February 23rd of 2007 and was charged with Laura's murder. He pleaded not guilty to the murder and criminal sexual conduct charges. During an interview with detectives, Orange, a piece of shit, told them that he had broken into a just random dorm room in Hill Hall that night, and he admitted to stealing a bag from the room, but stated that he didn't see anyone else while he was in there. So obviously, he couldn't have raped or murdered anyone.
I that there's no logic behind that argument.
Yeah, no, there's zero. Following the discovery of her body, investigators had collected semen that was found on Laura's thigh, and the DNA from that sample matched Orange Taylor. There were also black acrylic fibers found on Laura's body, her tank top, and the pillow that had been covering her face that matched the sweatshirt Taylor had been wearing the night of the murder. And while they were testing his sweatshirt, the crime lab also lifted blue fibers from it that matched the blanket Laura was found lying on in her room. Now, fiber evidence is heavily criticized and on its own generally wouldn't be enough to convict someone, but added to the video footage, the DNA match, and the gift bag that ended up being found in his home, the
Oh,
evidence against Taylor was strong.
gift bag for the
S-
win.
Yeah. Following his arrest, so this is now 2 months after her death, the university finally issued a statement that Laura was murdered in her dorm room on the campus. This is after all of the students have been gone for a month or whatever for winter break and then are now back on site, and they're now finally learning that she was actually murdered. And what's really, really fucked up is that Laura's family learned about the details of her death from the news
What?
following the release of the statement from the university. No parent should ever learn that their child was raped and murdered from a news broadcast. This is also when all of the other students and the public learned of the actual details too.
Oh my god.
Like, can you fucking imagine? Like, hey guys,
No.
so there was this murderer and rapist on campus for the last couple of months. Maybe you know him or interacted with him. Anywho, just wanted to let you know he's been arrested. Glad no one else was hurt or killed. Toodaloo. So fortunate that nobody else was hurt by this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And just the lack of regard and consideration for Laura's family and the other students pissed off a lot of people, and rightfully
I
so.
can imagine.
During his trial, Taylor's defense tried to point to a congenital heart defect that Laura had as the potential cause of her death, that she hadn't been raped or murdered, but had tragically died due to this heart condition. Now, Laura had been diagnosed with non sustained atrial tachycardia, okay, which sounds intense, but it's a super common and really treatable condition that never caused any issues for her. So this wasn't something that you just like drop dead from, especially
Okay.
a 22-year-old healthy, active female.
Okay.
The defense argued that Orange Peel had been smoking marijuana that night with some of his friends and had just kind of randomly entered Laura's room looking for drugs or some items to steal. But instead, he ended up finding her lifeless body following this incredibly rare cardiac event that killed her. And he just simply masturbated over her body and ejaculated on her, grabbed the gift bag, and went back to his apartment. This was
As
their
one
fucking
does.
defense. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many dead bodies I've just jerked off over. His attorney stated, quote, "It might be somewhat freaky, but does that make it murder? No." That is beyond somewhat freaky, you turd. But they had to figure out a way to explain why his semen was found on
Yeah.
her, and that's just what they came up with. That he was like,
It's just
I'm
he's
just a
freaky.
robber. I'm a horny robber that I just like to jerk off on dead
Yeah.
people."
First time I ever see a dead person, or maybe it's not the first time, but Any normal sane person coming across a dead body unexpectedly isn't going to go, "Boy, that's hot. That really, right there, that
Yeah.
really, really stokes my embers."
Two of the jurors bought this dumb fucking theory because the trial ended in a mistrial due to the jury being deadlocked after 3 days of deliberations.
Shut the front door.
No, it
You're
ended in a
fucking
fucking
joking.
mistrial.
Now, I get it because being on a jury, I don't get it. I don't know. Being on a jury is a very big responsibility, especially if it's a murder trial.
Yeah.
You don't want to put an innocent person in prison. So you want to take it very seriously. But come the fuck on.
Yeah. I mean, I get that the defense's job is to always present reasonable doubt,
100%. Yes, I get it.
but just I stumbled in on a dead body during a robbery and jerked off on her, and that's
That's
why it
not
was there.
reasonable doubt. That's a fucking A plus for creative writing. That's what that is.
Exactly. But again, two of them believed it. There was a mistrial. They
Oh
could
my
not
God.
reach a unanimous verdict. So Taylor was not initially convicted of the crime. And so when there is a hung jury, the prosecution gets to decide whether or not they want to try the suspect again and to move forward with the second trial. Sometimes that first trial, they're like, there's no way we're going to win this. But with the overwhelming evidence against Taylor, the prosecution was like, no, we're going to move forward with a second trial and
Yeah.
try to secure a conviction. And while they didn't have any, really new evidence to provide the second jury, the prosecution did call a cardiologist who had treated Laura in 2005 for her heart arrhythmia. And this cardiologist testified that the condition Laura had was benign and would not have caused a young, healthy woman to just die suddenly. And the defense continued to push that, she died of natural causes and that her cause of death could not be determined with absolute certainty. And they just really pushed this reasonable doubt argument. Can a young, healthy person die suddenly of natural causes? Absolutely. It
Yeah.
happens. But did that seem likely in this case? No, not at all. So Taylor's defense tried to find an expert witness who would testify that Laura died of natural causes, but they chose not to call anyone, aka no expert believed that she did die of natural causes, and thus they did not have anyone to testify under oath that she had. So it was just kind of like this, just so stupid. Um, on April 6th of 2008, after a 4-hour deliberation, the second jury returned the guilty verdicts on all four counts against then 21-year-old Orange Taylor. He was convicted of first-degree felony murder, first-degree home invasion, larceny in a building, and assault with intent to commit rape. He was sentenced to the mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Good.
So the handling of the crime by the school's administration put a big stain on the university's reputation that
Oh,
I
yeah.
imagine it's still recovering from.
It's got to. This wasn't that
Yeah.
long ago.
Yeah. It was revealed throughout the investigation that at the time Laura was killed, the school had been amid scandal. The school had been through 3 different presidents in 3 years. In 2004, auditors discovered that EMU had underreported the budget for a $6 million mansion for the president of the university at the time. And this had led to a 2-week strike from the staff just 3 months before Laura was killed.
Oh.
And just days before, almost half of the school's regents had resigned. So things were already not going great, and there were a lot of tensions, which is likely a huge factor in why the university withheld information regarding her murder.
Mm.
They were simply worried about how the optics of the crime would impact the school's already tarnished reputation. Eastern Michigan University saw a lot of changes following Laura's murder. Investigations by an independent law firm and the US Department of Education the summer after Laura's death both determined that the university violated the Clery Act. Now, this is a federal law that requires universities and colleges who receive any sort of federal funding to disclose information regarding campus security issues and to warn students of any threats of their safety. So, this act was named after Jean Cleary. I'm not sure if it's Jeannie or Jean Cleary, but she was also raped and killed in her dorm room in 1986. And under this law, crimes including murder, robbery, aggravated assault, sexual offenses, vehicle theft, arson, burglary, and even some like drug, alcohol, and weapons violations have to be disclosed to inform and protect other potential victims. So basically, the school didn't act morally by not being honest with Laura's family, but by keeping the truth of the crime from other students. The school acted illegally under this Clery Act.
Ah, okay.
And so they were cited for 13 violations, which,
Damn.
quote, that they said, quote, endangered the entire EMU campus community, which is totally true.
It's
Like,
100% factual.
the reports note that some university officials simply didn't know that there was a criminal investigation into Laura's death and unintentionally gave false information to the public, which I believe some people probably just really didn't know. But others absolutely knew the true details of the investigation and chose not to tell Laura's family or warn the public and students. So EMU had to pay a $350,000 fine to the Department of Education for violating the Clery Act. And I don't know if it still is, but at least at that time it was the highest fine paid out by a school. They also reached a settlement of $2.5 million in a civil lawsuit with Laura's family. The president of the university, John Fallon, the vice president of student affairs, Jim Vick, and the public safety director, Cindy Hall, were all fired due to their roles in the cover up of Laura's murder. Jim Vick, who was the VP of student affairs, defended his actions, stating that while in, quote, damage control mode, he had instructed staff at the school to shred police reports regarding the investigation into her
Oh
death.
my God.
According to his attorney, he believed police didn't want certain details about the crime to be released to the public. What the
What?
fuck ever. Yeah, come on.
All right.
After Taylor was found guilty of the murder, the vice president of Eastern Michigan University issued a statement that said, quote, "Our first thoughts are with the Dickinson family and friends. We hope this provides them the closure the family has sought." I'm calling bullshit. The school never seemed to care about Laura and her family. They let them find out what happened to their daughter on the news, which still just makes me sick to my
That's
stomach,
disgusting.
and did everything that they could to hide what happened to her. 4 years after the cover up of Laura's sexual assault and murder, EMU signed an agreement with the Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights. So there were a lot of organizations that
A lot of
like came
layers here.
around and got
Yeah.
involved. Yeah. And this agreement laid out regulations on how the university would handle allegations of sexual harassment and sexual assault on their campus. And this includes complaints made by or against students and faculty at the school. Based on the agreement, the school had to designate an employee at the university to oversee any complaints or allegations of sexual assault or misconduct. They also had to provide training and publications on what actions constitute sexual assault and have check ins with students to gauge their safety and comfort on the campus, which I think is really cool to be like, hey, do you feel safe when you're walking to and from class? How do you feel in your dorm? Like having check ins with the actual students. And then the Office of Civil Rights would make visits to the campus to ensure that these new policies were being followed. So basically, they were like on probation. They had to follow these guidelines and they were going to be checked in on.
What I love I love the reform. I mean, truly that's the hope, the best you can hope out of a situation like this, right? is the reform so that this doesn't happen again. But what I think is really sad is that there has to be training on what exactly constitutes sexual assault.
Right. And misconduct, just like even misconduct in general. Like,
Yeah, you put your pinky on any part of my body
mhm.
against my wishes, that is sexual assault.
And that doesn't matter if it's a professor
Yeah, it doesn't
or
matter. But if you are approaching me and you are trying to put if you touch me for the purpose of trying to get some, hoodity boodity, that's sexual assault. There doesn't
yeah.
need to be training on it. You touch a woman when they are not allowing you to touch them, that is assault.
Yeah.
You do it in a way with testosterone behind it, that's sexual assault. I've said my piece.
Word. So this settlement agreement by the university notes that EMU, quote, now has procedures in place and a published policy that should substantially improve EMU's ability to make timely warning determinations and issue campus-wide advisories as needed. Like,
I mean,
great, but why that wasn't in place
w-
from the
what else are they going to
fucking.
say though?
Yeah, I
I mean,
know.
this blunder was so catastrophic. What else are they going to say?
Any statement that they issued, you're like, "Yeah, I would fucking hope so." Like, that's
Yeah,
just, like, my
exactly.
response to everything, like, "W what?"
But they have to issue a statement and they have to do these things
Right.
and then everybody's going to go,
Yeah.
"Yeah, no fucking shit, dumbasses," but, whatever.
Right?
Wait, I have a question. Was Orange
Yeah.
Julius a student? Did you
Yes.
say that? He was a student.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, yep. So he was a student, and he had 2 months to just kind of turd around on the campus, and fortunately didn't hurt anyone else, but
What was his motive? Was he truly just looking for shit to steal to get drugs and he busted into her dorm room and she startled him and startled her and
that's, like, one of the things that is just kind of this, like, lingering question mark because I don't th he always denied, and said that she was dead when he got in there and he just got
oh, so
horny over that or whatever.
he's never accepted accountability.
No. So, I don't know if he knew her and, like, targeted her specifically or if it truly was random that he walked into her room and, like you said, startled her and that started some sort of conflict, but, yeah, I don't know how he ended up in her room specifically.
Well, poop.
Based on the timeline, he entered the building hours after she did, so I it would have been one thing if he had kind of, like, followed her from that party and whatever, but yeah, I that's one thing that I really wanted to find was how she became his victim specifically, but it
Right.
may have just been random and he wasn't expecting to find anyone there and they were both surprised.
Did he live in Hill Hall?
No, he had an apartment, I believe.
So he really was just up to some shit, trying to steal whatever he could to get. Okay. Fuck.
They're like, "He'd been smoking marijuana." Okay, also, I have never smoked marijuana in my life and been like, "I'm gonna go rob some people." I'm like, "I'm gonna lay here and dream of Nutter Butters."
Speaking for a friend, I've never been around people. No, I'm just kidding. I've never seen anyone smoke weed, turn and look at me and go, "Do you know what we should do? We should totally go rob dorm rooms." That's too much effort on weed.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to do that.
I would say, but that means we have to stand.
That means we have to move and like do stuff and walk.
Instead, let's talk about snacks.
I don't know. Eastern Michigan University had some pretty corrupt fuckers at the top there for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, so this case is incredibly frustrating, and it's one that there's not a ton of detail to.
Never heard it. I
It's
don't
just
didn't
the
know this one.
amount of corruption and
It's
Like, the way
astonishing.
that the school handled it, like, I wanted to be able to tell this story, and so it was really frustrating. The reputation of a business or an institution is never more valuable than a human life,
Oh my
never.
God, never.
And respecting the loved ones of a victim and protecting other potential victims should always be a priority. Laura and her family deserve better. The other students and the staff at the university deserve to be protected. It's really lucky that no one else was hurt by Taylor in the time that he was allowed to, just kind of roam around free on the campus until he was arrested. And it certainly shouldn't have taken Eastern Michigan University 10 weeks to tell the truth about what happened to Laura.
Yeah.
So that is the sad and just frustrating case about the murder of Laura Dickinson, who I feel was on a path to do some really important things and help
Yes.
a lot of people. And her life was just senselessly cut short by a stranger.
I find more value in a poop stain, honestly.
Yeah, you, sir,
Yeah.
are a skid mark.
Yep. Well, if you liked this episode, please share. Share it with people that don't even know you. You might make new friends. You never know.
Yeah, shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah,
I dare you.
absolutely.
I'll give you $1. Please rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yeah.
Check out our website, crimeltailpod.com.
Grab some merch. Um, Christmas is coming. Valentine's Day is coming.
Yeah. All holidays and birthdays are coming.
All of them. They are all coming.
Every
Get your
single one of
shit
them.
now so that you are prepared and planned. Jamie will even help you wrap them.
Yes, I love wrapping.
I fucking hate it.
I do have a kitten, so it may have some scratch marks in it, but we will get it done.
Biscuit will make sure of that.
Yes, he will fuck it up. But anyway, we really appreciate you guys listening, your support, and we love that you're sharing it with other people
Yeah.
and help spread the Primal Tail word.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you.
We love you so hard. And
Well, not too hard.
no, like the perfect amount
The
of
right
hard.
amount of hard.
Perfect amount of hardness. But with that disgustingness, goodbye, Carrie.
Goodbye, James.
Are you ready? Carrie.
Yes. No. I mean, maybe. No. Wait. What was the question?
I don't fucking know. What?
Who'sy whatsy?
But still, it's a very weird fucking word.
No. Nope. It isn't. It was great.
Great.
How come? What's the matter?
We both became donkeys.
Like, you just don't do that. It's just uncouth.
Amen, girl.
All that bullshit, just cut it out.